My honor to introduce Michael Persico and his concert jazz swing orchestra. Jack Bradley, born on Cape Cod in the village of Cotuit in January 1934, was one of the very finest and most renowned of jazz photographers. In December 1959, backstage at Carnegie Hall in New York City, Jack met his idol, Louis Armstrong, and soon became one of Louis's closest friends. In Jack's words, "And to think that I went from listening to 78s of Pops's music at home to hanging out with the man himself in his Queens home was just unbelievable to me." Unbelievable, yes, but also true. And the proof is in the hundreds of exquisite photographs that Jack took of Louis over the years. Louis in performance, Louis backstage, Louis relaxing at home. Perhaps because Louis Armstrong loved and trusted Jack Bradley so very much that his guard was down, that he could truly be himself in front of Jack's camera. At a party, Jack met a young lady named Jean Phalos. Jean asked Jack, "Who's your favorite trumpet player?" "Louis Armstrong, of course," replied Jack. "Oh, him," said Jean, who then turned and walked away. But a moment later, she was back, a huge smile on her face. "I was only messing with you, Jack. I actually worked for Pops." It was true. Jean Phalos worked in the office of Armstrong's manager, Joe Glazer, helping out with Louis's voluminous fan mail. Soon, Jack and Jean were a couple, and Jack found himself at the Armstrongs' home in Corona, Queens. While Jean and Mrs. Lucille Armstrong chatted downstairs, Jack and Louis were upstairs in Pops's study. "I was so nervous being in his presence," remembered Jack, "that I was trembling. But Pops put his hand on my shoulder, smiled, and said, 'Everything's cool, man. We're just two guys hanging out.' After that, my nerves vanished and I had a fantastic time." But that was Pops, said Jack. He could put anyone at ease. Jack Bradley and his camera were welcomed in the many jazz clubs that flourished in New York City in the late 50s and early 60s. Jack spent many a night at the Copper Rail, a legendary Times Square establishment across the street from the Metropole Jazz Club. This was a different time for entertainment, with the audience and with the artists and their audience dressed to the nines. Ruby Braff, Bobby Hackett, Red Allen, Coleman Hawkins. But Jack Bradley was not only loved by jazz musicians because of his skill with the camera. Jack was also beloved because of his big heart and endless generosity. In April of 1967, the great trumpeter Henry Red Allen passed away, leaving a bit of debt. Within hours, Jack was organizing a benefit concert that not only paid for Red's funeral, but also helped out his widow and grandchildren. Later, Louis Armstrong's adopted son, Clarence Armstrong, passed away. Clarence was the son of Louis's teenage cousin who had died very young. For his entire life, Louis Armstrong looked after and supported Clarence. However, when Clarence died, the money had dried up, and Clarence was to be buried in a pauper's grave. "Not on my watch," said Jack, who raised the necessary funds to have Clarence buried with dignity. As the trumpeter Ruby Braff once told me, Jack Bradley's heart is as big as his mouth.
Always late. Every time that we have a date, that I love her. Yes, I love her. I'm gonna walk up to her gate and see if I can get it straight. 'Cause I want her. I'm gonna ask her, is you with or is you ain't my baby? The way you treat me lately makes me down. Yours is still my baby, baby. Seems my flame in your heart's done gone out. Now a woman is a creature that has always been strange. Just when you think you know her, she's done gone and made a change. Is you is or is you ain't my baby? The way you treat me lately makes me down. Is you is or is you ain't my baby? Maybe baby's found somebody new. Or is my baby still my baby true?
Louis Armstrong, pops to his closest friends, was Jack's favorite subject. Jack's camera was also at every single Duke Ellington recording session held in Manhattan in the 1960s. In the summer of 1962, the Ellington Orchestra played an extended gig at Storyville, Cape Cod, a George Wein-owned club in Harwich. Jack's photos of a napping Duke, of Johnny Hodges playing in the sand with bandmates' children, of Paul Gonsalves frolicking in the surf, are some of the most delightful and unguarded photos ever taken of the Ellington Orchestra. One evening, Jack was backstage by the curtains watching the band play its first number. The piano chair, Duke's chair, was empty, a typical sight for the first song. Suddenly, a voice whispered in Jack's ear, "You don't know who I am, but I know who you are." It was Edward Kennedy Ellington himself, who then glided past Jack to take his place at the piano to lead his band through yet another magnificent performance. That Duke, remembered Jack, was one mysterious cat.
Yeah, Laurie!
The mystery of a big long that shadow of a river. Sleep upon my shoulder as we creep across the sand, so I may keep the memory of his cavalier. Where Living our desert caravan. Living our desert caravan. Thank you so much.
Jack spent over 15 years in New York City, returning to Cape Cod in 1976, where he documented such jazz greats as Bobby Hackett, Dave McKenna, Ruby Braff, Dick Johnson, and Cape Cod's godfather of jazz, Lou Colombo. While on Cape Cod, Jack co-founded, along with the marvelous pianist Marie Marcus, the Cape Cod Jazz Society, which thrived for decades. The 1980 Cape Cod Jazz Festival, conceived and produced by Jack Bradley himself, opened in May of that year and is still talked about by local jazz fanatics. Get this lineup: Lou Colombo, Jim Blackmore, Doc Cheatham, Vic Dickinson, Earl Father Hines, Scott Hamilton, Dick Johnson, Marie Marcus, Buddy Rich, and more. Ooh, for a time machine.
I'll be loving you always with a love that's true. When I am blue, oh, what'll I do? What will I do when I am wondering who is kissing you? What'll I do? What'll I do with just photograph to tell all my troubles to? When I'm alone with only those dreams of you that won't come true, what'll I do? Oh, when I'm alone with only those dreams of you that won't come true, oh, what'll I do?
Terrific band, what an incredible singer, Lori Colombo. In 1965, Jack offered to drive Danny Barker back to his hometown of New Orleans. A teacher, a guitarist, a banjo player, a writer, a raconteur, Danny Barker, with his wife Lou, could do it all. He was also a passionate advocate for the traditional form of New Orleans music. Because he dove back into his community with relish, forming youth bands, teaching, and playing, music scholars say that Danny Barker revived New Orleans' pride in its native music. For the trip down south, Jack bought a copy of the famous Green Book, which pointed out which restaurants, diners, hotels, and motels safely welcome black patrons. But I should have saved my money, remembered Jack. Danny Barker had the entire Green Book memorized. While in New Orleans, Jack heard that the Colored Waifs Home, the orphanage where a 12 and 13-year-old Louis Armstrong had learned the rudiments of music, was to be torn down. Dashing over, Jack rescued a stairway railing just hours before the wrecking ball did its work. Today, that railing has a place of pride in the New Orleans Jazz Museum. A plaque reads, "Saved by Jack Bradley." Jack also tried his hand at owning and running his own Manhattan jazz club, Bourbon Street, at 118 West 48th Street. The club's motto? Good old Bayou Jazz and Cookin'. Running for several years, Bourbon Street was known for its top-notch New Orleans-style food and for its top-notch music. Although Pops never played a show at Bourbon Street, he was often at his own table with his lovely wife, Lucille, digging musicians such as Ellington trumpeter and violinist Ray Floor Show Nance. Dan Morgenstern, one of the very finest of jazz writers and Jack's pal, would often be at the club with the legendary trumpeter Nat Face Lorber, who had acted as Dan's Virgil when he emigrated to the United States in 1947. we're now going to take about a 20-minute intermission. You may wet your whistle out there, for those who like to wet their whistles. Jack's magnificent photos are also for sale. His prints, I've already bought one. And if you'd like to donate to the cause, Mike has plans to bring this magnificent show to New York City. Feel free to donate. Your donation is tax deductible. We'll see you after the intermission, folks. Of Ella are stunning, as is his March 1959 photo of Billie Holiday on stage in Chicago, the very last image of Lady Day performing ever taken by Jack Bradley. Ella, Billie, Maxine Sullivan, Anita O'Day, Mons Mabley, Jewel Brown, and our very own Lori Colombo. They all found a beautiful home in front of Jack's lens.
night and
With the advent of bebop, Jack planted his flag in the camp of Louis Armstrong's generation. But as an artist, he always had his eye open for the perfect photograph. Mingus, Miles, Train, Brubeck, Paul Desmond, these artists might not have been on Jack's turntable, but they certainly appeared in his lens. One afternoon, Jack was telling me that he never quite understood the allure of Miles Davis. "I just don't dig his sound," he said. "Even kinda blue?" I asked. "Yep," replied Jack. "I just don't dig it." Reaching into my teacher bag of tricks, I came up with a pretty nifty simile. "Jack, the way I think of it is like this. Louis Armstrong is like bright, beautiful sunshine, while Miles Davis is like lovely, filtered moonlight." Not bad, huh? "Hey, that's pretty good," said Jack. "You're not as dumb as you look." The next time I visited, Jack said, "You know, I gave Miles another try. I'm beginning to like him, but he'll never take the place of Pops." So true. No one will ever take the place of Louis Daniel Armstrong. For a spell, Jack was the manager of the brilliant cornetist and guitarist Bobby Hackett. Like all, yeah, he deserves it. Like all jazz fans, Jack loved Bobby's exquisite sound. And like all of Bobby's friends, he loved the musician for his kindness and his legendary humor. For example, Bobby Hackett said that Boston's Irish Mafia should be renamed the Murphia. Pretty good. In 1976, when Bobby Hackett died in Chatham, there was not enough money to pay for a proper headstone. So Jack once again came to the rescue, raising the necessary funds to purchase a fitting stone for this magnificent musician. Like his idol, Lewis, Jack Bradley possessed a generous, giving soul. Musicians, like all artists, bring beauty and joy into this world. Musicians, like these folks, quite simply make this world a better place. Jack's highest praise to a fellow jazz fan was that he or she is quote-unquote spreading the gospel. Well, here's Jack Bradley, both keeping the faith and spreading the gospel with these sterling photographs. These are the musicians who played jazz, who played swing, who played Dixie, who played bop. Guys and gals like the musicians here tonight who are in every town in America playing and enjoying this glorious music and keeping it alive for future generations.
Carolina, gave me Dinah. I'm the lucky one beneath that southern sun. News is spread about our wedding. I hear church bells ringing. Here's the song my heart keeps singing. Dinah, is there anyone finer in the state of Carolina? If there is, then you know her, show her to me. Dinah, with the southern eyes blazing, how I'd love to sit and gaze into the eyes of Dinah Lee. Every night, why do I shake with pride? Because my dynamite changed her mind about me. Dinah, if she wandered to China, I would hop an ocean liner just to be with Dinah Lee.
life's decisions, Jack often asked himself, what would Louis do? Considering that Armstrong was as kind, generous, and wise as he was gifted, it's not bad advice. Jazz music is one of America's greatest contributions to world culture, and Jack Bradley was there to capture, for all time, rare moments in the lives of such giants as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, and many, many, many others. If he were here tonight, Jack would grow shy at all of this attention to his art. However, Jack Bradley was an artist in every sense of the word, and we are all enriched by his legacy.
Thank you all very, very much. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and for sticking with us all these years. It's taken a few years to put this together. John Clark on clarinet. Thanks for that. Dave Burdett on trumpet. Gary Johnson, drums. Mike Ryle on bass. Mike also did the arrangements for Laurie, so Mike is one of our arrangers. John Wheatley on guitar. My dear friend Marlene on piano. My good friend Nick Carlin, our narrator. And of course, Laurie Colombo. Thank you. We are a nonprofit, as says new program, so please feel free to pick up a picture on the way out.